Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today I want to give you some more freighter base tips. I'm gonna kind of go down the line because when I first started building my freighter, I definitely built a lot of things that I ended up going back on, and actually at one point I completely scrapped it and rebuilt. So the one you're actually seeing on my channel is not my first freighter base. So what I want to do is come up with kind of a guide that basically is what I would have wanted when I started, what I wish I would have had. So that's the idea here today. If you're first doing your freighter base, if you're starting from scratch, this is the way to do it, in my opinion. These are some tips to do it. I'll say that. Now, the first thing you want to do, obviously, is design a layout, because in your head, you're really going to want to know what you want to do. It's a lot easier to know what you want to do and execute it versus coming up with it on the fly, I guess you would say, because I feel like a lot of times you'll want to go back on things or you'll want to change things if you don't plan it out. Now, there's plenty of ways to do that. You obviously can watch some of my videos to get some ideas, or you can also watch, any other hundreds of other YouTubers. There's plenty of great content creators out there for No Man's Sky that'll show you some really cool ideas you can do with your freighter base. So I think what you should do is kind of plan it out. Now, it doesn't have to be crazy meticulous. Just, maybe write it down and maybe draw it out or whatever on a piece of paper. Or, just have something kind of generally in mind, because like I said, it's a lot easier to execute what you have in your head versus try and come up with it all at once. Now, this is just my sandbox mode save here. So I've just designed this little kind of idea that just kind of came to me for no reason a couple minutes ago. But the general idea here is you come into this little, when you come off the deck, you come into this little platform, and you got your first floor, obviously you're on. Then you got these stairways that go to the second floor. You've got these that go up to the third, and then these that go up to a fourth floor. And that's just like a general design that I've come up with. Now, I've never built a base that has that design. I've built a base that has 4 floors, but I've never built one with this specific design. So I think what I'm going to do is play around with this while also showing you guys some tips. Now, building this general framework is pretty simple. It's pretty much the only 2 pieces I've used are the exterior platform and the exterior stairs. So all I've done is come out here, build some exterior platforms, and then I built stairways off of them. Now, you need 2 empty spaces underneath your stairs to be able to build them. So keep that in mind if you're building something like this. But for those of you who are, have never gotten into freighter base building or anything like that, we're going to start a little more simple. So we'll go back down to the first floor. We'll come over here and we'll look at just general things like how do you connect rooms? How do you build rooms? How do you, customize them? Things like that. So here's your construction menu. You're obviously gonna want to pull it up. If you're on console, it's up on the D-pad. I play on Xbox, so I do use a controller. You're gonna, first of all, obviously you're gonna see all your core modules. So like I said, using the platforms, using the stairs, catwalks. These are sort of indoor stairways and walkways. Then you have walls and windows, and I'll show you how to use those pretty in kind of cool ways in a little bit here. But what you want to do really is, I know a lot of you aren't going to have some of the parts that I showed on my base tour, but one of my favorite pieces to use if you don't have that is this technology room expansion, because I think it looks the best as far as like it's just a general room, and I think it tends to link together with a lot of things that people tend to use. So anything that's on this page will link together well. These things all work hand in hand. So what you want to do, I'll show you. For example, I'll build some of these expansions. Now, the expansions, again, they're just empty rooms. So we'll take the expansions, and to get inside, obviously we need a way to do that. So let's build a door. And then we'll hop right in here. So now we're in the technology room. These expansions, again, they're empty, and all you have to do to connect rooms is grab something like a fleet command room or a construction specialist room. We'll take the fleet command room first. And you just aim at where you want to build it, just like you're building anything else. And you build the room. Now, you can take these rooms, obviously, and if I hit right trigger and turn this with my bumper, I can just turn the room to orient the way I want it. And as you build these open rooms, you'll start to notice NPCs will show up too, which is really cool. You'll start to feel like your base is a little more alive. And another thing that I really want to show for basic new base builders is if you hit your select button on your controller, you bring up this color menu, and this helps a lot with personalizing the feel of your freighter base. So if you want to do something that is maybe, we'll do like the beige gray. So I've turned that room to beige gray. Okay, so now I have that. Another quick way to color these rooms, if you all want them the same color, all I have to do now is highlight the next one, hit select again. See, so up in colors, up on that menu up above me where it says colors, there is a paintbrush. Now if I look at this other room, the menu's still there, but you can see that there's a little box right next to it holding the last color I used. So if I hit the select button, it applies it, and I can just do that for every room. Now if I change the color, if I say I don't want that one to be that color and I want it to be white and red, I can hit white and red and just change that one specifically. Now that one's part of my, it's kind of like a copy and paste sort of thing. So I can change this one to white and red as well. So for the sake of continuity, we'll make these all, a nice beige and gray. And now we have a nice room that's all beige and gray, and then you have just some fleet command rooms with some empty space that you can move about. And, you know, obviously you can decorate this with any parts that you want, and we'll talk about that later. But first we're going to show you, if you do want to like try and connect other rooms, so let's say we want to do an agricultural room, you're gonna have a doorway. It's gonna automatically create a doorway because I think it has something to do with the floor or just their different type of rooms. So you are gonna have a doorway no matter what. So if I do that, there's an empty agricultural room now, and you have to either create a doorway or whatever you want to do to kind of make that, you know, fill it in or whatever. Some people kind of like the doorways, but now we have this kind of agricultural chamber that we can walk down. Now I'm going to actually show you one more thing real quick with this room. And again, when I'm building these empty rooms, sometimes it's generating NPCs, which is really cool. So now I have two doorways because these rooms are connected to the technology room that I have. So let's say I don't want two doorways. All I have to do is use either a wall or a window to block off that doorway. So if I do this, that wall comes up, and obviously I can color that wall to be the same. And now I come through here, and this room's still here, and I have, just one doorway. You can also use windows to do the same thing. And now you have a window there instead of a doorway, and you still have your room. So it's just, just some cool things you can do with freighter base rooms and ways you can connect these together. Again, like if I were to use an industrial room, it's gonna create another doorway. And, it's the same effect. You're gonna have to deal with the doorway. And if you really want to, you can even put a bulkhead right on it and make it a proper doorway, so that it has to open rather than just be an, you know, sort of an open, just an open doorway. But then if I want to block this off as well, I can do that. And again, you can color these whatever color you want. And that's one thing I really like, is being able to customize just everything, making sure everything looks sort of uniform. On my main freighter base, I had some issues with that because one of the updates kind of broke a lot of the colors. So that kind of, you know, wasn't great. But I could always go back and fix all that or whatever, but it just takes a lot of time to color everything again. So as we walk through here, we now have fleet command room, and then we have this agricultural room, which we can also add other agricultural parts to. If we want to add a specialist over here, we can do that very easily, and they all connect well. And then you've got anything like this. Maybe we want a refiner in here, we can use that. Anything on the industrial page. So obviously those are like basic tips, pretty simple things. Most people know a lot of those, but for anyone who hasn't done any of this stuff, it is valuable to use this kind of thing. Now, also another thing, if you want to connect some of these rooms together via corridors, you can do that as well. So like we can say, we can do this, build a couple of these, and then we'll build another technology expansion room here. And we'll go kind of this way because I know my my platforms outside are over here. So what we'll do is build a door so we can get back outside. And it's not, well, I'll do it on the other side just so we can actually get onto a platform. So there. Wow, look at that, right in the middle. So that's the building that we just built. Now you can obviously do all of this from the outside, and I tend to find that a lot easier, because you can just access your build camera by clicking in the left stick when you're in the build mode, and you can now fly around. And I think this is much easier because I can do things aerially, and I also kind of, you know, now that I have an idea of what I want to do or where, you know, what rooms connect together, now it's a lot easier for me to just do this from overhead. Now what I would do personally is, like with a lot of these buildings, is put windows on the outside. I'll color it the same so that it fits the aesthetic. But if you have windows on the outside of these buildings, people can see in, you can see out, and it looks just a lot better. Now these freighter corridors right here do have different windows. So if you want to do windows, you can do that here. Also, you could do something like this and put some doorways on it and then kind of connect it with platforms or catwalks. I think catwalks might look pretty cool here. So we'll do that. And just another way into the building. So yeah, that's basically the general coloring and connecting of rooms. Now, outdoor platforms, like I've said, they're kind of a main staple for the way I build bases. If you want to do an outdoor base like this, I think these platforms right here are extremely key. And one of the reasons for that is because if you ever want to stack buildings, multiple floors, you need these platforms. And let me show you why. So if we want to build this building, we'll just take a, you know what we'll do is we'll just copy it. We'll put it up on the 4th floor up as high as we can so that I can show this to you the best way I can. Now, some of you who have watched my videos probably already understand this, and you've probably already done it yourself. But what we'll do is put a nice row of 4 buildings across. Okay, so what I want to do now is put buildings, another set of these buildings on top of this set, because I want it to be 2 floors. Well, when I try to do that, it's only giving me the option to go behind it. So what we need to do is be able to take our stairways. Now, this is just kind of how it works, unfortunately. I wish you could just build on top of the building, but you just can't. So if you build a stairway and then some platforms over to it, like this, now what you can do is, instead of building on top of the building, which you're technically not doing, you're actually building off of the platform. So now you can put your building right off of the platform because it's connecting to the platform rather than the building underneath it. And so now you have this. So if you want a double stacked building, now you can, if you want to, either put a doorway here and say, hey, you can get in from the top floor or the bottom floor. Or you can take that doorway away, take away all these platforms that you've used just to build the building, and now you have a double stacked building. And obviously you can do that multiple. I mean, you could do this, 14 floors if you really want to. But that is the general, I think, best way to, it's almost the only way to build a 2-floor building. So now I'm going to run all the way upstairs to the top floor, and we'll take a look at it from the outside. And it's something that I use a lot. These kind of double stacked buildings, I tend to leave the walkways sometimes because I don't always like building the inside, like indoor staircases, which I'll show you to do next. But you walk in, here's your bottom floor. Obviously you can't reach the top floor right now unless you had that platform that I had up there and a doorway, but you can, there are ways to get around that, and I've also showed this a few times in other videos. But what I usually tend to do is build a freighter doorway or a freighter walkway like this. I like to use the glass ones because they have windows. I like as many windows as I can have. And then I build a stairway. It is freighter glass stairs, or you can also use the freighter stairs, which just doesn't have windows on it. And I like to kind of, if I can get it to connect to this corridor. Sometimes it's hard to get things to orient correctly. You want them to, you can spin these pieces and you just kind of have to get the right angle for whatever reason. It's this green dot that you're really looking for, but you just kind of have to find it. So now you have a stairway up, and this is all indoor. The building I'm going to probably have to make bigger just to make it look nicer. But I'll build a corridor here. In fact, I'm going to build this glass corridor. And then we'll come this way. And then if you want to, I guess you don't have to make the building bigger, but you can connect it all with corridors. Or you could say, I'll just add another technology room right here. And there you go. So now you actually have a staircase that goes up to the top floor, and I think that looks cool from the outside. It doesn't look bad. You obviously could flip the staircase and have it go kind of the other way, so the stairs come up to this part. It kind of just depends on the aesthetic you're looking for. But now I come in here and I have this open doorway that brings me right up to the top floor that I've built. And again, this can be like, you don't have to have this be a technology room. This could be a freighter corridor as well. And then your doorway's here instead. And once again, if you ever want to play around with doorways, you can put another bulkhead on these. But I tend to, if it's one single building, I tend to leave it open. Just because there's kind of no reason to have a doorway like that. And then, obviously you can put windows. I like how it kind of bugs out like that. The game's kind of funny when it comes to, glitches and bugs. It's kind of always been that way, though. I'm not going to put one there. Now, another interesting thing is you can put these windows and walls inside of these buildings. So if you want to block off certain rooms even inside of your buildings, you can do that and say, like, maybe I want this to be blocked off and put a window here, maybe a little door here. And now you've actually got an entirely separate room inside of your other room. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities with this. Another thing that's cool is when you do that in your agricultural rooms, that will actually give you, I'll show you really quick. We'll have to make a couple of these and build a doorway. So if I build a window or a wall here, I'll show you really quick. So now you can go down here. See how you can gather carbon from here? You can also gather carbon from these corners, and it'll give you this extra one too on the wall. So you get like kind of this extra carbon source just from building the wall, because before this wasn't here. So just another cool tip. Obviously, I don't know how much you're really in demand for carbon, but you can get it kind of everywhere in these agricultural rooms. You shouldn't run short of it, but it's just a cool tip that I picked up, that you can add an extra source by adding walls or windows inside of the building. Another thing is you can actually build outside of the building area of the freighter. It's kind of a pain to figure out. Now these pieces actually right here are outside of the building area. That's another trick. Oh, there you go. That's another trick that I've talked about before. If you ever reach the border of your build camera, if you double click your left stick, it'll actually reset the freighter, like the camera view. See how I'm getting to the end of this right here? If I double click, I can actually reset that where that globe is, where your limit is, and now I'm flying outside of where I originally couldn't go. So that's kind of a cool thing if you're up in the sort of floating around camera, because it does get annoying when you keep running into the border. So speaking of borders, like I said, there's the outside of the map, outside of the limits of your freighter base. So if you choose to want to go outside of what you can build, there's a few things that you're going to probably run into, but you can actually make this. See how it's red? It's because you're outside of the limits of the freighter base. Now you're going, well, how did you build these? Well, all you really have to do is kind of find a spot where you can quickly move the piece into place and press the trigger at the same time. So now if I'm going to basically spam my trigger and move my stick up so that when the piece flashes green, it will go into place. Now it's kind of a pain to do because it takes a few attempts, but obviously you can do it. The issue with it is that you can't really place parts on this because they'll be outside the build limit. It's not working for me right now, but obviously I did do it. See how it flashes green right there? That's when you want to be able to hit your trigger to place it. And it'll snap it in place like that, so that you're now building outside the limit, and you're really not supposed to, but you just need to be able to find a spot where it flashes green like that. So yeah, you can build anything you want outside the limit. However, the issue with that is that you can't really decorate the rooms properly if you choose to do this. And I'll show you why. Because if I want to set something down, say I want to put like a couch. Oh wow, it is going to let me do that. Interesting. It's never let me do that before. But that is outside the build limit, so that's interesting to me. Now, it might be different if I made that a room, because I've never really done that with platforms. But if I make this a room and actually try to build a second one outside of it, which you can do it with pretty much any of these pieces that'll connect, because the game's like, you're kind of tricking the game into thinking that it has a room to connect to whatever, you know. So now if I copy this sofa and I come in here, I'm going to eventually reach a spot where it can't be placed anymore. And that's just because I am outside of the build limit. Even though the building is here, I'm still outside of that build limit. So that's about as far back as you can put it. So keep that in mind if you do build outside of the grid that it gives you. I believe it's like 21 by 21 or something like that. And there's a couple parts that like it does take away because the command deck kind of sticks out a little bit. But it's pretty much 21 by 21 that you have to work with. So let's see what else. With that being said, I don't know what else really I need to show you. It seems like these are most of the tips that I would have wanted when I started building the base, because like I said, it's just a pain when you have like furnished a lot of rooms and you've built a lot of things, a lot of structures, to the point where like you feel like, oh well, I should have done it this way, or I should have done it this way. And I feel like you're probably going to always have that. You're probably going to always have some sort of like, maybe we should have done it, you know, maybe I should have built it with only 2 floors, or like maybe I should have opened it up so it was a big courtyard so I could see out into space instead of having 4 floors like this. I think you're just always going to have some kind of sense of like, I should have done it a different way. But I think the best way to do it, like I said, is design the room, or design the entire floor plan, or like just have a general idea, I guess, and then come at it. Because I'll tell you, moving all this stuff around or deleting everything and starting over is a lot. And, you know, even if you look at right here what I've done, this is only like, you know, a half hour of work. And, you know, maybe a little more than that because I did build it, a lot of it before the video started. But like, these things look a lot more elaborate than they actually are. I don't think that people realize how easy it actually is to build some of these mega structure freighter bases. It's like you come in here, it already starting to look, it's, you know, it's already looking kind of cool as you come in here. And I would probably continue by building another building to kind of wrap around this side as well. And then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm coming up with ideas as I go, but you're always going to be coming up with ideas as you go. So I think the general idea of this video is just to give you basic tips, you know, so that you can come up with your general idea. If there's anything you guys want to know, just feel free to ask, because I will respond. I'm pretty good about responding to YouTube comments and stuff like that. So just ask me some questions if you ever want any other tips or anything like that. But that's it. I really appreciate you guys watching. As always, thank you. And I'll see you next time.